Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian. I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction House taking a look at some of the guns from their September of 2015 premiere auction that's coming up. One that I found here that I was not expecting to see was a Roper revolving shotgun. Now it wasn't all that long ago actually that I did a video on a different second Roper. That last video, the gun was kind of a mess. It was missing some parts, had some broken pieces, and I didn't think I would have the chance to see a complete one for a long time, so I figured I'd take advantage of the broken one. Well, lo and behold, here I have a complete and functioning one. And what's really cool is that it has a handful of original Roper cartridge cases with it. And those are a very interesting and important element of the gun. So this shotgun was invented by a man named Sylvester Roper. He patented it in 1866. They went into production in 1867. He's typically not really well known today. He did actually collaborate with Christopher Spencer, and the two of them working together got a patent for the world's first pump-action shotgun in 1882. But what Roper is much better known for in general is actually his work with motorcycles. He was inducted into the US Motorcycle Hall of Fame a few years ago. He actually died in his 70s while riding a steam-powered velocipede. Cool way to go out, by the way. Classy. At any rate, his revolving shotgun is a really interesting gun. It's totally different from probably anything else you've seen in a very long time. So why don't I go ahead and bring the camera back here. Let me show you not just how this works, but because I have these cases, I can actually demonstrate the loading and firing and unloading processes. All right, at a basic level, the Roper is a 4-round rotating magazine. These were made in 12 and 16 gauge. This particular one is 12 gauge. And what makes it, the first thing that's unusual about it is that it is actually an open bolt firing, manually operated shotgun. So what we have here is the bolt. When I cock the hammer, which by the way has a very long stroke, the bolt head comes back and you heard a metallic click in here. This is actually under spring tension, and it rotated one position at the final bit of the hammer cocking. So we now have the bolt extending backwards out of the gun. What we would do is we would have one of these shells sitting in here. When you pull the trigger, this one's a little bit finicky. When you pull the trigger, the bolt drops. It's going to pick up that shell that's sitting on that magazine tray. It's going to run it all the way forward. The bolt then locks in place, so you can only, pushing on the bolt won't open it up. You have to pull the hammer in order to unlock the toggle inside here. This is chambered, and the last bit of travel of the hammer throws the firing pin forward and fires the shell. You can then cock the gun again. It has an extractor right there at the front of the bolt. It'll pull that case out, leave it in the gun in that position on the magazine, and then rotate to the next shell. So I have this loading gate open so that you can see what's going on. What you would actually do is load the gun and then close the gate, and you'd keep it closed so that the entire action of the gun was sealed up and wouldn't get dirty. Then to unload the gun, well, let me show you the loading process first, because unloading is exactly the opposite of loading. So to load the gun, I start with the bolt closed, and I need to open the bolt before I get it all the way back, because remember, when the bolt fully clicks back, that's when this follower rotates. So I pull it most of the way back like this, then I take one of my cartridges, and I drop it in the magazine, and then I click the hammer all the way back. What that does is rotates the follower one position, so now I have a, theoretically, loaded cartridge sitting in this position in the magazine. All right, now I just repeat this process a couple more times. This one is a little bit finicky with the magazine, so close the bolt all the way, open it up, drop my shell in, make sure it's all the way back. There we go, now I have 2 shells in there. Now I drop the bolt, pull it back, drop number 3 in. There we go. I'm only going to use 3 here. Now, if we look there, now I have cocked the hammer, and I have what is hypothetically a live shell in place, ready to fire. Now, I would be doing this with the dust cover closed. Nothing here has to be open for the gun to actually work. Now, I'll leave it open so that you can see what's happening. Now, when I pull the trigger, the shell gets pushed forward, all the way forward. Right here, the bolt is fully in battery and locked, and then the last bit of travel of the hammer hits the firing pin and fires this shell. Boom, gun fires. Now I'm ready to go again, so I cock the hammer back. That, in theory, if our extractor was not 150 years old, pulls that case out. You saw the magazine rotated again, so we now have an empty shell down here in this compartment. We have another live shell here. You can repeat this process 4 times, so if you load 4 live shells, you can then fire 4 in a row, and then at that point you're left with an empty gun that has 4 fired cases in it. Once you're at that point, okay, you fired 4 rounds, the gun's been closed, now you're ready to reload. What you do is pop the cover open and just flip the gun upside down and repeat the process. Let's see, how many do I have in here? So I have 1 more loaded chamber. There it is. Flip it over upside down. I pull out my empty cases. The gun is now empty and ready to reload. Now let's take a closer look at these cases. These are steel. Frankly, this is very similar to what the very first Gatling guns used. This is basically a reusable hand-loaded cartridge case. So as I said, it's steel. You would actually set a percussion cap in the back here. The gun came with a little tool for setting those. The manual recommends Berdan caps as being the best suited. You would put in powder, put in your shot, buckshot, birdshot, a single slug, whatever you plan to fire. Put on something to seal it. The manual actually says after you put the primer in, you should put on a little bit of tallow to make it waterproof and make sure the primer doesn't come out. Or I should say percussion cap rather than primer. And you could have as many of these as you wanted. That allows you to reload them. This one actually still has a fired primer in it. The manual also mentions that you should, as quickly as possible after you're done shooting, you make sure to pop the percussion caps out of these. So it says if they start to corrode at all, it will become very difficult to get them out, which makes sense, given that it's a steel cartridge case. So this is an early predecessor to the brass metallic case. Now in 1867, when these guns were being made, there were more advanced cartridges on the market. If you think about it, the 1860 Henry was on the market, and the 1866 improvement on it, the Winchester 1866, had recently been released to the public. But for shotguns, there weren't quite as many modern options, and the Roper, it wasn't that bad of a gun at the time. Definitely had an advantage over, say, 2-shot double guns. They were moderately successful, never made a huge dent in the market, though, and that leads them to be quite rare today. All right, now that we've seen this work, I want to point out a couple specific elements of the gun and why it works. This is the firing pin, and I will show you that's more easy to point out by disassembling the gun. To do that, we have 2 screws down here. This one is actually just a set screw, and to take the front half of the gun off, I take this set screw and I actually screw it in deeper, like that, and then the whole front end of the gun unthreads. So this is just a big hollow cylinder with a barrel in it. It does also have a center hole right there that's a locator for the magazine follower. If we look at the back half of the gun, you can see we have the follower here. When I push the bolt forward, you can see that this is a continuation of that firing pin piece. Comes to right there. We can pull out the follower. It has 4 very small little cut sear edges that dictate its rotational motion. In this, they're a little bit worn, and every once in a while you have to manually kind of adjust the follower to get it to cycle. You probably saw me doing that. And then this is the back end of the gun. So what this system did was ameliorate the problem of a muzzle-loading shotgun by using this cartridge case to fully enclose the combustion in the chamber. So if we had a gas seal, it would be up here. The barrel came all the way back to here, and that prevents any significant amount of blow-by. It probably got quite dirty. This is a very thick steel case, and it would almost certainly not obturate well. Obturation is the idea of the case material expanding under pressure to form a gas seal. You can do that with steel cases. In fact, there's quite a bit of steel-cased ammunition has been used regularly by militaries, and frankly, a lot of the AK ammo you buy today is steel-cased because that's cheaper to make. A steel case this thick isn't going to be doing very much stretching. Here's our extractor on the bottom of the gun. Interestingly, the previous Roper that I was looking at on video had an extractor on the top of the bolt instead of the bottom. I'm not sure exactly what significance that has, probably some manufacturing changes over the course of production. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly didn't anticipate I'd be able to do this one anytime soon, and it's really cool to have been able to get my hands on a functioning and intact Roper. If you'd like to add this to your own collection, maybe you bought that last one and you're ready for a live gun instead of just a wall hanger, go ahead and take a look at the link in the text description below. That will take you to Rock Island's catalog page. They've got some pictures, their description of the gun, and everything there to set up an account online and place a bid if you'd like to have this yourself. Thanks for watching.